Covenant. This movie is probably the most disappointing thing that ever came out in 2017. I mean, like, they released this thing with no regrets or anything. Well, here goes. Alien Covenant is a 2017 film directed by Ridley Scott and is a sequel to his equally disappointing Alien prequel, Prometheus. Michael Fassbender reprises his role as David from Prometheus and also stars as the new android Walter. Catherine Watterson stars as Daniels, Billy Crudup stars as Orem, and in a surprising casting, Danny McBride appears as Tennessee, the ship's pilot. This had all the makings of a great alien movie, so what happened? The plot follows the crew of the vessel Covenant and how it is on a journey to colonize a planet some distance away from Earth. The ship is met with disaster, however, and in the wake of that, they discover another planet even better than their original destination. They set down to investigate and soon discover the fate of not only Dr. Elizabeth Shaw, the android David, but also the engineers from Prometheus. The crew are soon fighting for their lives against not only David, but also the xenomorphs he has created. The film's promotional material certainly showed a lot of new xenomorph action, suggesting a return to the horror we've come to expect from this franchise. But instead, they continued to focus on David as the main villain. I'm not sure why the Alien prequels are so desperate to not show any xenomorph action, though. I mean, rogue AI is terrifying, as we've seen with Ash in the original 1979 film, but Ridley Scott seems intent on shifting focus away from the monster and to AI as a terrifying menace. I can understand wanting to keep things fresh and new, but why shift the focus away? Fassbender is great as a threatening android, but if you're going to make a movie with religious overtones and killer androids, then why not just make a new and original film with religious overtones and killer androids? Why keep disappointing fans of the franchise? Remember this? A survival horror based on a franchise about a killer monster that managed to scare the hell out of everybody who played it? Yeah, remember that? Alien Isolation proved that the monster hiding in the shadows using the same tricks as the original film was still terrifying to modern audiences and gamers alike. Now the film does have some good parts. I have to give it credit. The blood and gore is back from some of the older films, and Ridley Scott does seem to want to right some of the wrongs committed by Prometheus. But still, he goes too far and keeps wanting to explain the origins of the xenomorph. Did it really bother people when they watched the original Alien that they didn't know where the xenomorphs came from? They existed, and they were terrifying. And honestly, that was enough for me and a lot of other fans and moviegoers. There was a mystery around them, which really helped build suspense during the first half of the movie and also built up to an excellent climax. Did we really need to know that a homicidal android made the xenomorphs? No. Did we need to further explore the character of a homicidal android? No. Did we need any of this? No. The original stands as a classic because of its groundbreaking practical special effects, tight plot, excellent dialogue, and its mysterious titular monster. That's all we needed. A mystery and a monster. Furthermore, the entire lore of the series is screwed up, especially considering that now David created the xenomorphs only a few years before the events of Alien. So how did an engineer ship end up with a cargo bay full of them after they've all been wiped out and have the time to crash on LV-426 and become completely fossilized? Additionally, the movie is incomplete. I don't know how or why some crucial scenes involving the crew were put up onto YouTube, making us have to do our homework to go and see a movie. the only thing you should do before you go and see a movie is buy a ticket. I'm going to do my homework to pass my college courses. I'm not going to do my homework before I go and see a movie. I go and see a movie because I want to relax. One thing the movie does have going for it is its cinematography. It is an undeniably beautiful film, but with no substance other than the blatantly obvious religious overtones, everything else is simply lackluster. And the characters? We're introduced to them in a way that makes us not care about them. It just kind of sets them up as alien chow. Remember the older films? With the exception of Alien Resurrection, we're introduced to the characters in a way that feels natural and fleshed out and doesn't just set them up to die. Remember Ripley, Ash, Dallas, Parker, Bert? What about Hicks, Hudson, Frost, Bishop? What about Clemens, Dylan, David? No, not David from Prometheus. I mean the legend himself, Pete Postlethwaite. All memorable, every one of them. But in this one, we have David, Walter, Daniels, Tennessee, the blue guy from Watchmen, and, yeah. You get my point. Hardly anything that happens in this film is memorable. I mean, with the exception of some of the xenomorph violence, but even that is short-lived and doesn't do anything to bring up the quality of the overall film, much like the final lightsaber duel in The Phantom Menace. But let's not talk about that. Don't get me wrong, Ridley Scott didn't go full Star Wars prequels in terms of extensive use of CGI, but it is glaringly obvious. It just baffles me that a ship, according to the franchise's timeline, is chronologically older than the one used in the original Alien, but seems to be way more advanced in terms of tech and layout. Was the Nostromo bot used? Did the Covenant roll right off the lot before it was shot into space? I don't get it. It's too bad because this had a lot of potential to be a really good Alien movie. I mean, this franchise started off great, built to a phenomenal sequel, and should have ended with the third one. But instead, we got a hilariously bad fourth one and two prequels made by a wonderful director who has a clear vision, but ultimately his films fail in execution. So, if you're going to watch these movies, stick with the first three. Avoid this piece of crap and Prometheus. This is Cinescape, signing off.